the most sadistic dialogue ever committed to celluloid.
Right.
And
that's what he like caught his attention.
Before his iconic career or lifelong romance with June Carter, there was another life shared by Johnny Cash with his first wife's story hidden well way from the public eye. This chapter in Cash's life revealed a more complex side of the man in black that few truly understood, marked by challenges, heartbreak, and the struggles his first wife faced. But to understand this part of his life, it's essential to first delve into Johnny's early years and the foundation of his career. Early life and career of Johnny Cash. Born John R. Cash on February 26, 1932 in Kingsland, Arkansas, Cash's upbringing in a poor rural family had a strong influence on his character and music. As the fourth of 7 children to Ray and Carrie Cash, his parents struggled to make ends meet as cotton farmers during the economic hardship periods of the Great Depression. In 1935, the family relocated to Dyess Colony, a New Deal resentment community, where they farmed 20 acres of cotton and other crops. Cash's love for music was sparked early on with his mom's playing of the guitar, along with family evening sessions made up of folk songs and hymns after long days of toil in the fields. By 12, he was writing songs, driven by gospel songs from home and country music from his uncle's radio. Both these influences laid the bedrock for Cash's eventual musical style. However, when Cash turned 14 years old, an extremely sad incident occurred that colored his life. His older brother Jack died in an accident while operating a seesaw in their sawmill. This incident would later have immense influence on Cash's songwriting and his general perception of the world. This loss became a major inspiration, pushing him to honor Jack's memory in his life and work. Cash himself began working in the fields from a young age, taking up strenuous jobs, and after high school, briefly working in an automotive plant before joining the Air Force during the Korean War. Stationed in Germany, he bought his first guitar for $5 and formed his first band, the Landsberg Barbarians, marking the beginning of his journey in music. After completing his military service in 1954, Cash returned to Memphis, balancing various jobs while pursuing music. He sold appliances door to door but was focused on breaking into the music scene. His big break came when he auditioned for Sam Phillips at Sun Records, who urged him to get beyond gospel, thus leading to the career-defining shift. In 1955, he assumed the stage name Johnny Cash and began recording with the Tennessee Three, setting up the launching pad for his rise. His debut album, Johnny Cash with His Hot and Blue Guitar, released on October 11, 1957, marked a major turning point. Blending country, rockabilly, blues, and gospel, it featured hits like I Walk the Line and Cry, 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 So Doggone Lonesome, and Folsom Prison Blues. The album title captured Cash's character as warm and resilient at the same time. That debut album catapulted Cash from a regional artist into national stardom, helping him tour more extensively and reach a wider audience. With deep emotional storytelling and innovation in the genre, it appealed to listeners and turned this album into a real cultural phenomenon. Critically, the record Johnny Cash with His Hot and Blue Guitar is regarded as an authentic piece of Cash's voice, having fewer instruments. It merged country roots with other genres. This got it to the greatest albums lists, setting up its influence. This set the stage for the prolific career of Cash, filled with hits, Grammy Awards, and inductions into various music halls. The album dealt with themes influencing scores of artists across genres, further cementing Cash as a cultural icon. In 1958, Cash's EP Sings Hank Williams paid tribute to Hank Williams. With songs such as I Can't Help It If I'm Still in Love with You, the EP showed Cash's admiration for Williams by putting his touch on the songs. Coming out when he was switching from Sun Records to Columbia kept him in the limelight. That EP reached number 2 on the Billboard Country charts, with critics praising its raw, emotional power. Cash's interpretations honored Williams while evolving his own style, securing his place among the greats in country music. Johnny Cash's greatest hits Vol. 1, which was released in June 1967, marked his rise to fame, with its smattering of hit singles such as Jackson, I Walk the Line, and Ring of Fire. Its successful performance on the Billboard charts cemented its reputation for crossover appeal. Upon release, Greatest Hits Vol. 1 indeed reached commercial success upon topping the Billboard Country Albums chart. It attained gold certification in 1969 and went to platinum in 1986. By placing Cash as one of the highest-selling individuals, the release gave fans as much of Cash's work as would fit on a single disc. Critically, the album was praised for its track selection and Cash's performances, highlighting his distinctive voice and storytelling ability. It captures Cash's artistry, blending themes of love, loss, and resilience, and is an essential collection for understanding his impact on country music. Another influential album, The Fabulous Johnny Cash, was released in 1959, capturing Cash's blend of country, rockabilly, and folk blend while marking his transition from Sun Records to Columbia. Such hits as Don't Take Your Guns to Town and I Still Miss Someone expressed his great narrative gift and emotional expressiveness, reaching number 3 on the Billboard Country Albums chart and selling over 500,000 copies, establishing him as a popular artist. This album extended Cash's reach into the pop market and solidified his position in American music. Reviewers have praised it as a rather cohesive record with some good songwriting, and AllMusic hailed it as one of the finest works of his early career, based on just how nicely Cash's resonant voice was paired with his emotive and storytelling in song lyrics. The mix of country, rockabilly, and folk included it in the lists of most important country albums and sealed its fate as a contributor to the shape of modern country music. Released posthumously in 2006, American V 100 Highways is the 5th in Cash's American series with Rick Rubin. Recorded during his final years, it captures reflections on mortality, love, and loss with minimal instrumentation. Featuring originals and covers, including the title track and God's Gonna Cut You Down, the album focuses on themes of redemption and fate. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Country Albums chart and number 3 on the Billboard 200 upon its release, and it quickly achieved gold status. The single God's Gonna Cut You Down received widespread critical acclaim. The haunting message in it struck deep and nailed Cash into the status of a voice for profound truths in music. More importantly, American V 100 Highways received widespread critical acclaim, with reviewers praising the album for the raw emotion and authenticity it conveyed. Cash's voice was said to reflect in its weight the life he had lived and struggled with, and the simplicity of the arrangements let the storytelling shine. John Pareles, a New York Times music journalist, labeled this album a testament to a life fully lived. Cash's readings are seemingly disarmed with frailty but powerful. Additionally, Rolling Stone awarded the album high praise for its emotional resonance and depth, calling it a fitting conclusion to Cash's storied career. The album received much praise from music publications as well, the majority of which placed it among the best albums of the year. Critics emphasized that, even in his later years, Cash maintained an unparalleled ability to connect with listeners through his music. American V 100 Highways holds much cultural relevance since it serves in modern times as a reminder of the great influence Cash had on country music and American culture at large. The themes addressed mortality and redemption and truly resonated with audiences struggling with similar questions of existence. This album also added to the growing debate over aging artists and their relevance in music today. Cash's ability to solve deep topics, yet remain relevant, made him reach people across generations, both those who grew up with him and those just beginning to hear his name and work. Along with musical value, American V raised conversations about mental health and addiction recovery, with Cash's candidness about his struggles resonating with many fans who appreciated his honesty and vulnerability. The Johnny Cash Show. Shifting focus, The Johnny Cash Show, which aired on ABC from June 7, 1969 to March 31, 1971, was a significant television program that showcased Cash's music and persona. The show emerged during a pivotal moment in Cash's career, following the success of his live albums at Folsom Prison, 1968, and at San Quentin, 1969, which revitalized his image and popularity after a period of personal struggles with addiction and declining commercial success. ABC approached Cash to create the show, recognizing his newfound status as a cultural icon following these performances. The format of The Johnny Cash Show was distinct from typical variety shows of the era, as it not only featured musical performances but also highlighted social themes relevant to American life. Cash envisioned segments that would not only cover historical and cultural aspects of country music, but effectively bridge the gap between the older country roots and the newer, ever-changing influences. This approach allowed a wide range of guests, including established country artists such as Loretta Lynn and Merle Haggard, to rock and folk musicians like Bob Dylan and Neil Young. The Johnny Cash Show was well received quite while it aired, attracting a substantial audience and earning critical acclaim for its innovative approach. The show aired on Saturday nights, later moving to Wednesday nights, and became known for its engaging format that combined music with storytelling. Usually, each episode would start with Cash's greeting, "Hello, I'm Johnny Cash," followed by performances that included his original songs and popular hits. The show's success can be attributed to several factors. First, it provided a platform for Cash to reach a wider audience beyond traditional country music fans. By featuring diverse musical guests and exploring various genres, the show appealed to both rural and urban viewers. This inclusivity was significant during a time when country music was often marginalized in mainstream media. Segments like Ride This Train allowed Cash to tell stories about American history and culture through song, thereby enhancing the educational component of the show. This mix of entertainment and cultural commentary made it one of the more progressive programs at that time. Critics loved The Johnny Cash Show because it was an honest program intent on showcasing real talent. The show was different from other variety shows at that time, as it was less a spectacular form of entertainment and more a music performance of high integrity. Many critics noted how one of the things working for the show was how Cash connected with his guests and audience. Music critic Robert Hilburn, among others, recognized how the program put together certain artists from other genres, further easing country music into the wider American cultural arena. Despite critical acclaim and rating success, The Johnny Cash Show faced the realities of shifting television trends. In 1971, during what became known as the Rural Purge, CBS axed a series of shows with either rural themes or significant characters, including Cash's. The move mirrored programming changes within the network that ultimately spelled the end for an explosively innovative series that had succeeded where no other had in terms of crossing musical genres and talents. The cultural significance of The Johnny Cash Show surpasses its immediate television success. At a time when country music was overshadowed by rock and pop music, the program gave country music a degree of credibility within the mainstream. By featuring a wide array of artists, ranging from folk legends to rock icons, Cash helped foster an appreciation for country music among audiences who may have previously overlooked it. Moreover, the show contributed to discussions about social issues prevalent in American society during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Through his performances and guest selections, Cash highlighted themes such as poverty, civil rights, and social justice, issues that resonated deeply with viewers during a time of significant cultural upheaval in the United States. Cash's readiness to air these issues through his platform showed the commitment he had to using music as a means for change. The tradition has survived to this date and continues to inspire other musicians into the present who want to comment on socio-political matters in their work. Johnny Cash's relationship with Vivian Liberto. In his personal life, a personal note, Johnny Cash and Vivian Liberto met in the early 1950s at a San Antonio, Texas roller rink during Cash's time in service for the United States. Air Force, the couple's love blossomed through sincere letters since he was deployed, which culminated in their marriage on July 4, 1954, at St. Anne's Catholic Church. Her marriage was filled with much love. Vivian would later remember falling into Cash's arms when he returned after 3 separated years, something that symbolized just how tight they were. They initially settled in Memphis, Tennessee, where Cash worked as a salesman before devoting his full energies to his music. The couple had 4 daughters, Roseanne, Kathy, Cindy, and Tara. However, as Cash's career took off after signing with Sun Records in the late 1950s, the dynamics of their relationship began to shift dramatically. The pressures of fame and a lifestyle filled with touring, partying, and temptations strained their marriage, leading Cash to struggle with addiction. Vivian described this tumultuous period as entering a dangerous current of Hollywood life, filled with excessive partying and substance abuse. As Cash gained notoriety, Vivian noticed changes in his behavior, which led her to question their relationship, particularly in regard to his closeness with June Carter. Vivian observed Cash's increasing absence from home and discovered receipts for expensive gifts, which heightened her suspicions. In her memoir, she candidly expressed her anger and hurt over Cash's betrayals, feeling blindsided by his actions. A notable incident occurred when June Carter allegedly confronted Vivian, saying, "Vivian, he will be mine," intensifying her feelings of betrayal and helplessness. Despite Cash's reassurances of fidelity, famously telling her, "I walk the line for you," a phrase that inspired his hit song, the mounting pressures of fame eroded the trust between them. The toll of infidelity on Vivian's mental health and their marriage was significant, with Cash's drug use and affair creating an unstable environment. As they moved to California and became enmeshed in the Hollywood scene, Vivian felt increasingly isolated and heartbroken, grappling with the reality of her husband's actions. Compounding her emotional turmoil were public misconceptions about her identity. After a photograph of the couple was published, many mistakenly believed she was African American due to her Italian heritage, leading to backlash and even death threats from groups like the Ku Klux Klan. In 1966, after years of enduring infidelity and addiction issues, Vivian Liberto filed for divorce from Johnny Cash, citing his ongoing substance abuse and fidelity concerns as primary reasons for the separation. Following their split, Vivian expressed deep anger over June Carter's claims of raising Cash's daughters, feeling that Carter had enabled his drug habit rather than supporting his recovery. This sentiment highlighted Vivian's pain and sense of injustice, as her role as a mother became overshadowed by June's influence in Cash's life post-divorce. Vivian Liberto's reflections on Cash's infidelity reveal a complex emotional landscape marked by love, betrayal, and resilience. Her experiences shed light on the challenges faced by women married to famous musicians who often navigate public scrutiny alongside personal turmoil. Interviews given after the release of her memoir in 2007 show Vivian expressing the continuing impact on her life and family dynamics. Although Cash had hurt her with his infidelities, she wanted to ultimately reclaim her story and make people realize that while Johnny Cash was truly an icon in music history, her story and the struggles she had to fight counted for something too. After divorcing his wife in 1968, Johnny Cash married June Carter. The end of his marriage to Vivian had lasting effects on both women. Following the divorce, Vivian continued to bear the social stigma along with personal turmoil. She was even excommunicated from the Catholic Church because of her marital status. Later, she reunited with the church when Cash wrote to the archdiocese, accepting his shortcomings as a husband. Vivian went her way, raising their daughters and engaging in some civic activities, later marrying a police officer by the name of Dick Diston and remaining in private life without the limelight that once followed her. Johnny Cash's relationship with June Carter. Moving on to Johnny Cash's relationship with June Carter, both of them met in 1956 at the Grand Ole Opry, where Carter was performing alongside her then-husband Carl Smith. Cash, the new country music sensation, was being introduced to Carter, and they immediately clicked. Years afterward, Cash would tell June how he had always wanted to meet her. She replied, "I feel like I know you already," an acknowledgement that had a long and profound relationship between them over time. As Johnny and June began touring together in the early 1960s, both were navigating tumultuous personal lives. Cash was struggling with addiction and infidelity in his marriage to Vivian, while June was dealing with her own marital issues. Despite the complexities of their situations, their professional interactions evolved into a romantic relationship fueled by shared experiences and a profound emotional bond. Carter later reflected on the challenges of falling in love with Cash during this time, acknowledging the emotional turmoil they both faced amidst personal struggles. Cash's affair with June became increasingly evident as his marriage with Vivian faced significant challenges. The emotional spillover effect from the eventual affair hit their daughters and Vivian the most as they were trapped in a tightly knitted predicament. Later, Roseanne Cash spoke about what had happened to her family, the pain the affair caused to her mom, and how this all would finally end up with Cash and June being together anyway. However, the heartaches never stopped them. They married on March 1, 1968, a few months after Cash proposed to her on stage during a live performance in Ontario, marking the beginning of their new life. Afterward, Johnny and June became inseparable in both their personal and professional life as they welcomed a son, John Carter Cash, in 1970, and continued performing together. This duo also co-hosted The Johnny Cash Show, where many other artists were showcased, furthering the popularity of country music. Most importantly, June played a pivotal role in persuading Johnny to get rehabilitated regarding his addiction issue. He often mentioned that she was the one who saved his life many times and termed their love as unconditional. Cash said in one interview, "She loves me in spite of everything. She has saved my life more than once." Such a strong bond helped them to overcome all the challenges that came along with fame and personal crises, and thus made them truly an embodiment of eternal love in the country music genre. Their love story inspired numerous songs, including Ring of Fire, which June co-wrote about the intensity of falling in love with someone who leads a tumultuous life. This narrative was immortalized in popular culture through various mediums, including the Oscar-winning film Walk the Line, which depicted their romance and struggles, showcasing how their partnership transformed their lives and left an indelible mark on country music history. Cash's addiction. Sadly, June Carter passed away on May 15, 2003. The proximity of the two in death has fostered speculation about the bond that they had throughout their lives, where some think perhaps Johnny died from a broken heart following June's death. Despite Cash having massive success, he had severe substance addiction problems throughout his life. Experiences with alcohol and substance abuse did not only affect his personal life but also influenced his career and forms of artistic expression. Cash's addiction struggle began in the late 1950s, just at the time he gained commercial success. The exorbitant pressure to perform kept him hooked on substances to put up with the exhaustive touring and recording activities. First, he started taking amphetamines to stay awake and maintain energy during the length of a performance. Cash himself recalled in one interview, "I got into the habit of amphetamines. I took them for 7 years. I just liked the feel of them." In very short order, this stimulant use mushroomed into a more multidimensional drug use that included barbiturates and alcohol. In the 1960s, Cash's addiction began to have severe consequences on his life. He was arrested in Texas after police found over 1,000 pills, amphetamines, and sedatives in his guitar case. The incident showed not only the severity of his addiction, but also marked a turning point in his life. Cash's addiction became a vicious cycle of multiplying troubles. He often described how he would take uppers to perform and then downers to calm down afterward, stating, "You took more pills to cover up the guilt feelings. It got to be a vicious circle." Moreover, this circle affected his mental health and strained his relations, contributing to the breakdown of his first marriage. Addictions soon started to take their grim toll on Cash's behavior. Friends recall that he would become unbearably unpredictable and impossible to work with, missing performances and wrecking professional relationships. Cash himself confessed that many times before the show, he was a nervous wreck, too shaky about his abilities, and hence risked his career as well as his personal safety, including driving cars under the influence of drugs. A significant turning point in Cash's life was his 1968 marriage to June Carter, which had a profound impact on his personal journey. June proved pivotal in Cash's getting clean, famously flushing his pills down the toilet and weathering repeated rehab stints with him. Their marriage represented both love and turbulent turmoil. The love was deep, but adjustments were singular and related to their own addictions. Cash had periods of sobriety throughout the marriage, most notably after the birth of their son, John Carter Cash. During this period, he remained clean for several years, but the pattern of his deterioration into relapse was a cycle he lived with throughout their marriage, part of the ongoing struggle he had with addiction. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Cash checked himself into rehabilitation facilities numerous times as he struggled to win his battle with addiction. He would often speak about how faith played a significant role in his recovery process, finding comfort in spirituality to lead him out of the dark addiction lane. In 1992, after so many struggles, Cash finally checked into rehab, which would be his last attempt to get sober. This time, he emerged clean from drugs and alcohol, and afterward reflected, "You can be redeemed," saying importantly how hope and recovery are possible. The personal fights of Johnny Cash against addiction became the main point of his legend. His frankness concerning these issues did find a place in the hearts of many fans, who actually admired his honesty and vulnerability. Often his songs would reflect themes of redemption and personal struggle, which made it quite relevant to those who have gone through similar situations. In retrospect, Cash's journey of addiction serves both as a lesson and an inspiring story of recovery, thus offering hope to innumerable individuals battling substance abuse today. Hazardous incident. In 1981, Johnny Cash had a bizarre and hazardous encounter with an ostrich, Waldo, on his Tennessee property, where he maintained a private animal collection. Cash was walking out of doors when he encountered Waldo, who had become particularly aggressive following the death of his mate. Knowing the danger that the ostrich can reach 320 pounds in weight and has powerful legs with razor-sharp talons, Cash grabbed up a 6-foot stick for protection. When Waldo attacked, Cash put up a defense, but the ostrich was the first to strike, breaking 2 of his ribs and slashing his abdomen right down to his belt buckle. Cash would later say that if he had not been wearing such a good, heavy belt, the bird might have spilled his guts exactly the way he meant to. At first, reluctant to tell the tale, Cash was concerned it sounded too ridiculous for anyone to believe. A spokesperson later verified the incident, adding that he suffered injuries and subsequent problems with painkillers. The attack left Cash in considerable pain, further complicating his ongoing struggle with addiction. He eventually gifted Waldo to a zoo, realizing the hazard of keeping such animals. This strange incident was perpetuated into the annals of Cash's life and supplemented his other merits as a hardy character who did not shy away from any challenge. It even inspired a Sky Arts program in 2018, Johnny Cash and the Ostrich, which highlighted this surreal episode with real humor, health challenges, and death. During the final years of his life, Cash struggled with deteriorating health due to diabetes complications, including glaucoma and pneumonia that put him into a coma in 2001. Yet creatively active to the end, he recorded American I Voy, The Man Comes Around with Rick Rubin. The album, with reflective songs about love and death, was especially touching given the death of June Carter Cash in May 2003. As a reflection of how he felt from her passing, Cash experienced heavy sadness and a feeling of not wanting to move on without her. On September 12, 2003, Cash died, aged 71, from diabetes complications. His death sparked wild grief among his fans and musicians at the passing of an iconic figure, now symbolic of their fight for survival and rehabilitation. His funeral was a strictly private service attended by only intimate friends and family, including Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson, with Merle Haggard singing "Sing Me Back Home." A public memorial at Nashville's Ryman Auditorium on November 10, 2003, let several thousand fans pay their respects to him, while ceremonies by musicians, politicians, and fans drove home the powerful cultural resonance of his music. Timeless music and tales blended to manifest Johnny Cash's legacy, which stands the test of time from his deeper voice to the poignant storytelling, where his ideas of love, addiction, and redemption run deep in the American psyche. One of the most loved artists whose life and music touched so many. What are your thoughts on Vivian's experiences with Johnny Cash? Share in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.